back.
You are back. This is
the-
your second time.
All the people in Quincy, and I get asked to come back for a second time. Pretty special. Feel pretty good.
So the first time you came on this pod was a very long time ago. Now, I mean, you've been at Muddy River. Have you done Club Muddy with Ashley and Brittany and Bob?
Haven't been on there yet.
No? That's okay. But I think you've been at Muddy River before besides being on with me, right? Or no?
I don't know. I can't remember. I think this is the only one.
Okay. So you came on a very long time ago, and I knew that you would come back. I knew that. And a lot's happened in Quincy since the last time you were here.
Yeah.
Like construction, lots of construction.
Everywhere.
True or false? The people in Quincy that yell, bitch, moan, complain the most about the streets being in ill repair are some of the first people to moan and bitch and complain that there's too much construction.
100%.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you know you can go to the interwebs and see the same people who were really mad about it? Now they're saying things like, who are the idiots who are doing it from 18th to 24th or doing this side street with this? Who are these? Why are they doing it like this? This is a terrible idea. And I have to tell you, I think the city's doing a great job.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's a lot of different, like Broadway's the state. They're on a different schedule than the city of Quincy. A lot of the side streets are city of Quincy. So that's why you have so much congestion in so many different areas. You got different entities or parts of government doing different projects.
Yeah, but the people on the socials don't know this. They don't ask questions like, why is Broadway being done like this? Why are we doing Broadway at the same time? I mean, so Broadway, Highway 104 in Quincy, getting done right now. You need to take a sip of that thing. I cannot believe you didn't bring me one. Jeez, I'm gonna have to just sit here. You did ask me.
It's nice, refreshing, good.
I have to tell you, I'm really glad that you're brown bagging it though, because like now, so no one knows what you're drinking. No one's gonna know it's gonna be. No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
I wish I had one. I might have to stop this pod and do a Josh Klitz and go run and make a triple vodka and soda. So, how do you feel about the new mayor? Are you happy with what she's doing so far?
I mean, so far, I think she's doing all right. I like how she's streamlining the council meetings, speeding those up with those votes.
Okay.
'Cause some of those go. I used to be on the plan commission, and you sit there and listen to it, but a lot of that stuff, you can just knock it out way faster, and I think that'll help.
I like a lot of the things that she's doing.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of surprised she wants to put. Walk me through this. Muddy River put out an article a day or two ago, something about the mayor is opening talks and conversations up to like some kind of like sports commission, about how she's putting together like group
Committee,
things,
yeah.
like think tanks.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think the sports one especially, that's a good one to have a discussion about in Quincy. And hopefully she gets the right people on there and they can look into it.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of throwing it out there that says, hey, I'm starting these conversations. I'm putting these groups together. And she seems to be really inclusive. I get the impression that I'm sure her office has to vet people who, you just can't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry go in there and just start talking, But it seems to be, I like the direction in which she's going. Speaking of Broadway, whenever I'm driving down Broadway, I see your dad's name on a lot of stuff, like Mark Freiburg. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because I always think to myself, how did your dad get started in like the real estate development area? I'm super interested in it. I'm a small potato guy who I'm constantly making mistakes. I'm tripping over myself a lot when it comes to real estate development. I do not consider myself to be a real estate developer.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't agree so fast.
You got a good property here down the street.
Yeah.
With big things coming to it.
Yeah, totally. But if you were a fly on the wall watching me operate, there'd be occasions where you would kind of be just shaking your head no, be like, no, Frank, that's a dumb question. Here's how you do it. Do you think people in Quincy ever, when they look at like the Freiburg family, you do a lot of stuff. Okay, this is not like some kind of like kiss your ass type of segment. What this is one of the things that's very important to me is the average person from Quincy. If I've got the pleasure of having you in front of me on a taped session, I, in my opinion, I think the average person thinks to themselves, wow, how does he do it? You do a lot of stuff. I mean, we haven't gotten into the youth basketball tournament that you set up last year.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into youth sports, and we'll get into some of these things. But how does the average person dip their toe into the wealth creation market? And when I say wealth creation, what I mean by that is you take a look at the U.S. system, and you understand that buying a piece of real estate, a piece of property for your own, a lot of people want a piece of, I don't want to say the American dream, because I think everybody living in America, not everybody, but most people have some kind of opportunity to do something if they make it their life's work to try to do something.
Yeah. I mean, it always takes that first generation in a family, like with real estate especially.
Yeah.
Or any business, you got to make that jump and take a chance at it.
Do you mind talking a little bit about how your family, you guys are first of all, you have such a good family. One thing that nobody could ever say about your family is that they're mean, disingenuous, nothing like that. You are one of the few families in Quincy, your family, from your dad to your wife to your kids, you guys knock it out of the park. And I would say this to you privately. I'm shocked at how well you guys operate inside the community.
Well, a lot of it, my dad and I, we get along and work real well together. My wife, she's a huge supporter, and she helps out a lot. And I don't know, just everybody kind of fills their role and their niche, and we've got an amazing staff. I got great people that work with me, and without that, you really can't do anything.
Okay, that's a really nice. Okay, so you got out all the shout outs to the.
Yeah.
Okay, you got that out of the way. So all right.
So here, I'll tell you how we got started in real estate.
Come on, yeah,
this will be a good one.
Yeah.
So back in the 60s, my grandpa used to take my dad and my uncle to swimming meets all over the Midwest. Well, he loved Arby's roast beef sandwiches. So he got a hold of the corporate Arby's, and he wanted to bring one to Quincy. And he was going to build the building and lease it to him. And so he brought him in, and he took him to 12th and Harrison, where Dairy Queen's there right now. And he goes, all right, this is the lot. This is where I want to build it. And the guy goes, okay, thanks. And he goes, that's it, you're going to take it? He goes, no, I'm not going to take this. He goes, if you go south, it's a cemetery. Those people are all dead. I can't sell them a sandwich. If you go west, it's a park. There's no one there to sell sandwiches to. He goes, I need a place where there's more traffic and more visibility. So at that time, my grandpa drove out to where Staples is currently, and he acquired that tract of property. And he never did get Arby's there, but he did get, what was it? It's a pizza place. I can't remember what it was called now, but that was our family's first commercial development.
Not Paisanos.
No, and they did. My dad would know. He'd been better at this, but no. That's where they started, and then shortly after they built it, his two partners passed away, and so they sold the middle section off where Staples is, but we still own both sides of it. That's how we got started in real estate, and then from there, my dad, he just kept building properties and buying properties, and he was real aggressive with it.
So to recap that short story, because I want to dive deeper into that about how it's actually done. I mean, I could tell you my story about what I did. And again, I'm small potatoes, but what you guys are doing is building something. You're building this legacy, this generational legacy, piece by piece. And you're saying it starts with your grandpa, right?
Yeah, well, I would say my great-grandfather, he got us in the insurance business. So he bought into an agency in 1900. And from there, my grandpa did it, my dad's done it, now I'm doing it. So we're 4 generations. In fact, we just got awarded, our agency goes back to 1859. Our insurance agency does.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I'd say it was really my great-grandfather that got us going, and it just seems like each generation adding in new pieces.
In Quincy?
1859.
Oh my gosh. That's like that's before a lot of these buildings were even built.
Yeah, it was originally the German insurance agency, and they sold insurance to new Germans that were coming to town. And then I think it was World War One. I think it was. Excuse me. They changed the name to Miller Castle Freiburg. I think that's when they changed it because we were fighting the Germans, so they didn't want to be affiliated with them anymore.
Really? God, it's so interesting. So your great-grandfather, your grandfather, your dad, you. Okay. So fourth generation building this thing. Okay, so that makes some more sense to me. To understand the long time frame. That is you blew me out of the water with that 1800s comment, because I know that recently just got a Quincy Preserves plaque on my building on 6th Street, and it says 1890. So you're saying that your family started before that building was ever built. So that's a shocking thing. Real quick, so was it your grandfather that was on the corner of 12th and Harrison telling the real estate agent that he doesn't want
he thought that would be a great spot for him, and the real estate agent said, no, this isn't going to work for us. We want to be on a major thoroughfare with traffic and visibility. There's nobody coming over here.
So the real estate agent almost was like kind of educating.
Right, and so from that's when he went out to the east end of town, because at the time it didn't go past, Quincy wasn't past 30th Street. And so he went out to the very eastern part of Quincy and bought ground, and that's where we started our first construction project.
So the real estate agent was kind of educating your grandfather.
Right. My grandpa had no clue what he was doing.
Interesting. Okay, so he didn't know, but he's out there asking questions.
Yeah.
And he's putting he's putting himself out there.
Yeah.
And the real estate agent, so this is a big enough of a story that you're telling it. His grandson is telling this.
Yeah, it's a big one. Anytime your family starts a business, it's successful. You got to make sure and keep the history alive and pass that down to the next generation.
Yeah, it kind of it's very similar to where, like, my grandfather started a company in his garage, and later on, he didn't even really want to do it.
Yeah.
He was trying to retire, but then there was this need, and then turns it over to his son, and names it after his son, and then his son has to do most of the work. There is a story out there floating around, Quincy, about your dad and you Freiburg kids, and then and I don't know if this translates to your children or not. Can I tell you the story?
Okay.
The story goes like this. Now, I've heard this from multiple people.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how it goes. Well, Mark Freiburg, he'll get a property, and someone will say, "Oh, I'll demo that for you," and then Mark Freiburg will say, "Well, hold on, I got kids to do that." So if this isn't true, you got to tell me, has there ever been a time where your dad has brought either you guys into a spot to make you guys work, or had your kids go in? Have anybody of the kids, when your dad goes into to a real estate place to try to do some work, does he ever make you kids do it, or make, but this is going to fall flat if this isn't true. There is a legend. I've heard this from 2 or 3 people.
That he makes us work on them?
Yeah.
Heck no, I can't.
No?
I can't build anything.
That's hilarious. The general consensus out there is that which, by the way, I still believe that the Freiburgs are hard workers. Okay, is this true? Is it true that you have taken your children to St. Louis to play basketball?
Yes, that is true.
Is it true that you've put them in tough predicaments with certain, like maybe the rough crowd, to make them learn how to play street basketball better?
So my oldest son, we used to go, I always would, when they were in like 4th, 5th, 6th grade, we would go down to the inner city St. Louis, and we'd play some of the roughest teams down there. And I did that because I knew as they got older, they would eventually start seeing these kids. Like high school basketball, we always end up playing Chicago teams. Well, those teams are tough, and you don't see that type of play around here. And so we'd go down there and we'd play those type of teams, and now it doesn't bother him. It worked.
Yeah. So you're telling me, so you go down there and just put the kids in there? I mean, was it difficult for your kids to go down there and play? I mean, was it?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was. They were terrified because they see these teams that have really big kids on them and tough kids that were good. And, you know, after a couple tournaments, then it goes away. But yeah, initially that was really good for, you know, helping my kid develop in basketball.
So back to the average Quincean who wants to jump into the real estate business. Because, I mean, we can talk about, the insurance business, I think, is such an interesting business that you're in, but you're in multiple businesses. And, you know, I've often, when I was a kid, up until my teenage years, college, after college, I read a lot of self-help books. Mm-hmm. Even in college when I was taking microeconomics classes, macroeconomics, terrible classes like Intro to Managerial Accounting. Those are terrible classes. Have you ever taken any?
No.
It's awful. But so much of the finance and the psychology courses that I would take in college, I never felt like they gave me a lot of, I learned things and I use some of it, but almost everything that I learned was something that I went off on my own to go discover. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like whatever you learned in school helped you do everything in your businesses?
I never did well in school, ever. I was just never a good test taker. And for me, it's repetition, so I have to do things a lot before I can fully understand it. And in school, they don't give you that luxury, you know? You have to know it by the test time or you don't pass.
Right, and they use everything as a building block to get to the next thing. And if you miss something here, you might struggle later on.
Exactly.
And get caught.
So, but no, on the real estate stuff, so to kind of hit home on that, it's a business that takes a lot of patience because it's not one of those you just go out and buy a property and then it's paid off in 2 or 3 years. Like if you buy a business, it might take 5 years and that business is paid off and now the income's rolling in. Real estate can take 15, 20 years sometimes to pay off, so you got to have a lot of patience with it. One thing my dad always taught me was that you can't own every property, so just own the right properties. You can't fall in love with one and walk away from a deal because there'll always be another one that comes along, and you got to make sure your money's in the right ones.
Is there any truth to the idea of try to find your first property to be a small property and something very, very manageable for yourself? I hear of people, I talk to people that say things like, oh, I want to buy this property over here. It's a building, it's an old building, it's got 8 units, but it's real small, and they're just 1 bedrooms. How do you feel about a person just starting off?
Your best bet, when I got started, I bought my first property when I was 17. It was a duplex, and I had decent tenants in there, and over time, it just kind of got, tenants don't take most tenants don't take good care of your rentals, which is a whole nother topic for another day, but so I got a duplex, and eventually I got to where I was doing Section 8 housing. Okay, this is a pretty good story, and this kind of goes back to all this rental, this rental program they want to put in. So the tenants would continually destroy my property. Like they'd be drunk, they'd punch holes in the doors, they'd break out windows, and it was a constant battle because they just leave, and if you try to take them to court, they don't show up to court, and then you're just out that money. But so one of my first rentals, I couldn't take it anymore. In Section 8, if you call Section 8 and complain about something broken in your house, they won't pay the landlord the rent until you fix it. So these tenants were coming in and they were destroying the property. Every month they would break doors and windows. And so after the 3rd time, I said, I'm not going to fix it. Please pay me the rent. And they wouldn't do it, so I tore the building down. And that was the end of it. Like that. And from that point on, I never really got, I don't do much residential now, but everybody should start in residential rentals and then grow from there because you'll learn real quick.
And so
headaches.
What about buying a place, living in it, fixing it up, making it the way you kind of want it to be, and then trying to get some kind of equity over time into that building. Then when you go and look for another property, you can kind of let go of that property or use the equity in that
leverage
building.
That to move up, yeah.
Do you guys always leverage your other properties when you acquire a new property?
I don't. I hardly ever sell any properties. Once I get them, I just keep them.
Why don't you sell?
Well, because they're really good properties. That's why I plan on retiring with that income.
You know, it's so interesting. You remember a few years back when you could get sub 3%?
Oh, those are great.
It was just almost free money. You know, one thing that most people don't really know is what an interest rate is.
Yeah.
So people always talk about the market. The market. They're almost never talking about bonds and notes and interest rates. They're usually, the layperson's talking about equities, the stock market. They're talking about the Dow Jones or the S&P or the NASDAQ or something like that. But I noticed one of the reasons why people don't talk about the interest rate market is because they don't know what an interest rate is. So I learned a long time ago that an interest rate is just how much money costs. And then when you talk to somebody about that idea, they're like, well, what do you mean? How much does money cost? A dollar costs a dollar, right? Like, oh no, oh no. A dollar costs 3%, 7%. Yeah. This idea of leveraging money and making money grow, the term making money is a literal thing where anybody can make money. You can put pressure on the market and pressure on a bank. And when you put pressure on the bank to make them give you money, somebody has to issue it from the Fed. Yeah. Money has to be printed. Maybe it's printed physically, maybe it's printed digitally. It moves through the 12 areas of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve pushes and leverages on the banks. But that's all it's not complicated, but I remember when you could buy a property with nothing down. Can the average person, what's your opinion on if anybody can buy anything with nothing down right now?
No, it's still there. You have to have some type of equity or collateral to put down. You know, I'm not aware of a bank that would just give you a 100% loan without having some type of collateral to put up for like your 20%.
If somebody wanted to buy a property for $100,000 and they owned a home that had 50% equity, meaning they had $50,000 of equity in their home, then would the bank allow you to buy that new property with nothing down?
So you're saying if they have a current building, they've got $50,000 in equity.
Yeah.
And they want to go buy. I mean, you have to talk to the bankers, but some banks, yeah, I know some banks will do that.
Some banks in town will do it, and some won't.
Yeah.
This idea of knocking on doors, calling like every bank in town.
A lot of them. I mean, your local small town banks. I've always found they're easier to work with, and they're more forgiving about some of that stuff because there's actually a personal relationship there than like your big nationals.
Would you and Trevor Beck and Adam Booth and Brett Austin ever consider putting on some type of like seminar on how to do that? Can you guys all get in the same room and like wear your polos, walk around in like an agenda-filled format, and invite all of Quincy, go to the OLC, and teach people how to do this stuff? Because you guys are really good at this stuff.
I appreciate it.
You guys are shockingly good at this stuff.
You guys are they're pretty talented.
They are talented.
They are.
I don't like. All those guys I just named, all of them, every single one of them produce.
Yeah.
They're all producers.
They're hustlers.
They're hustlers. I mean, some of them are gangsters. Actually, all the ones I just mentioned are gangsters. Yeah. Even yourself, but you're the nicest one out of all of them. But I'm not going to try to put in order how nice all those guys are, but you're the nicest.
Yeah. Oh, I'd agree.
You're the most respected too. Anyway, so I just find it fascinating. I mean, these are questions these are questions about how to get into real estate, wealth create, things like that. Now, can we switch gears?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do something fun for a second. Muddy River, either this morning or yesterday, I'm not sure when, they asked a question online on Facebook, and the question is, this is our intermezzo palate cleanser. You ready? Do you brush your teeth first thing in the morning, or do you eat first? Now, is this too personal of a question?
No.
Okay. What do you do? Do you brush your teeth immediately, or what's your game plan in the morning?
That's assuming I brush my teeth.
That's assuming, you might not.
I brush them, then if I eat breakfast, I brush them again before I leave.
You're a double
brusher, yeah.
Oh, I think I don't think that's normal. You're a double brusher?
Yeah, you got to.
That's too much. I don't do that. I mean, gosh darn it. I wonder, and if Brittany Bull or Ashley were here, I wonder what they'd think about that. I don't think there's a lot of double brushers. So have you ever heard about this idea that right when you get up, you're supposed to not brush your teeth right away because all the nastiness in your mouth is like good for your intestinal flora, all the good bacteria's in there?
Heard that.
Yeah, that's disgusting. You can get like a tablespoon of like apple cider vinegar,
wash it down
swish
with
it
some
around.
coffee.
Yeah, wash it down with some water and coffee, then like wait 20, 30 minutes and then do something different. I don't know if that's even true. You ready for the second break?
All right, let's hear it.
Do you remember Biden's last White House press secretary? Her name was Karine Jean-Pierre. Remember her?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what she just did?
I heard. Did she go independent?
She went independent.
That's crazy.
That's insane. She was one of the, so I'm going to give her a lot of compliments. I mean, it is Pride Month, so she's a big LGBTQ plus APPA, all the like the big string of the all the like the massive acronym. People only know what the first letters of Pride Month. That's the only stuff that they know. They know LGBTQ, but they don't know the next 27 letters that are in there.
Do you know for a long time, I used to see LGB on Facebook, and that's what I thought it was the acronym. Well, actually, it was Let's Go Blues.
Yeah.
For a long time. My friends would post it. I'm like, what are you posting LGB for?
Right.
I didn't know you were into that. And they're like, no, idiot, it's the blues.
Let's Go Blues. I'm like, why are you guys always talking about LGB? It's like, oh, well, we only do this during hockey season. All right, it makes sense. Man, thanks for putting on the air conditioning, whoever did that. That was really nice. So, Karine Jean-Pierre, when she was Biden's press secretary, I always thought she was super nimble. I thought she was very good at her job.
Really?
Okay? Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I thought she was terrible.
Well, listen, she wasn't Kayleigh McEnany, and she wasn't who's the new girl? The 27-year-old, the hot blonde who married a 59-year-old man. Who's that? Who's that girl?
know.
Do you know, so Trump's,
Yeah, what is her name?
Trump's White House press secretary is dynamite.
Yeah, she's great.
She's one, her and
What is her name?
Kayleigh
That's gonna
are
drive me
the
nuts.
goats. Yeah, I'll think of it here in a second. But Karine Jean-Pierre now, she's defected away from the Democrats and went independent. And the only reason how I can muster the courage to wrap my head around why she would do that is because I think she had to have some kind of guilty conscience for what she was doing, because she was doing terrible things. When I say that she was very good at it, I think you have to be, if you're to be her or anybody defending certain administrations, and to be fair, I would say that people on the left think that the current press secretary is terrible, and people on the right think that all of Biden's press secretaries were terrible.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think you have to be very good at it, and if you're not good, they'll pull you very quickly.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy how any question, they can rattle off an answer and just BS their way through it. I just don't see how people can do that.
Do you believe in the two-party system?
Sort of. Yes and no.
Why do you? So I can imagine.
I mean, it'd be nice if there was
it.
more than two parties. I'd like to see if there's 3 or 4 parties, it'd probably be better. Which I feel like we kind of have that now, in a way. Like if you look at the Republicans, you've got the Tea Party side of the Republicans, which I always feel is like the old Republican Party, and then you got the more moderate side, which is kind of like, I always feel like your JFK Democrats. And then you look at the Democratic Party, you still got the old school Democrats, and then you got this far left liberal wing of it that's taking it over.
Totally taken it over.
So,
I mean, the populists have taken over the Republicans, in my opinion. I think there's very few fiscal conservatives in the Republican Party.
yeah.
I think, I'll go off on a limb here. It's not much of a limb. There's only 2 people in the House of the House of Representatives on the Republican side that voted against that big beautiful bill, which that's such a dumb Trumpian name. I do not like the name of that. The big beautiful bill. It's the big beautiful lie. Is what it is.
There's a lot of waste in it.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's quite a disgusting bill. I'm really kind of, this thing where this is where it becomes like more of an independent conversation where, like, I don't think Republicans are allowed to say how terrible the bill is. And I'm not a good
Well,
Republican.
if they speak up against it, they get blasted
They do.
for it. But I just don't understand how one party can sit there and claim they're fiscally conservative, and then they add just as much debt as the other party. That makes no sense to me.
Well, yeah. And as a matter of fact, I think Democrats would say that the Republicans add more. I think they would, and if you do the math sometimes, you can see where the Republicans did add more. I mean, obviously Obama added a lot. I mean, Trump in his first 4 years added, I think pound for pound, added more than Obama. And you can blame COVID on it, I guess.
Yeah.
But what's his excuse this time? I mean, they're going to jam that thing through. There's only 2 Republicans in the House of Representatives that voted against the big, beautiful bill. I think it's Davidson and Massey.
Massey's from Kentucky, right?
Yeah, and he's a
Yeah.
stud. No, I mean, I think Massey and Rand Paul should. I mean, I'm very libertarian, so libertarian just means you got balls. That's all it
Yeah.
means. It doesn't mean you're psycho.
No borders.
No, it doesn't mean no borders.
I thought libertarians don't want borders because they want to be able to leave.
Well, that's the joke that libertarians make. They'll say something like, "Well, the problem with a wall is it keeps people in."
Yeah.
So, but see, that's a Mad Max libertarian. That's like a fringe, so far to the right. That's like the idea of, like, I make the joke that I think we should own tanks. That's a Mad Max libertarian. Like, I don't go that far to the right. I'm to the right of the average Republican, but I'm far left compared to the Mad Max libertarians. Like, it's not that I'm for a wall. It's just that I'm for like not letting a sieve, inviting the entire world to come up through Latin America and just walk in under barbed wire and having a stream of millions and millions and millions of people, undocumented, flooding into cities to where everyone's like living on the street.
Yeah.
That's the kind
Can't
of.
do it and then expect us to pay for it all. It doesn't work.
What's the latest number you've heard on how many illegal immigrants came through the southern border during Biden?
It's millions, isn't it?
Yeah, have you heard any numbers?
No, but I've heard there's like more illegals in the country than like half the state populations. Something like that.
That's crazy.
Like there's more illegals in several states, entire population.
Yeah, so they're saying like more than Rhode Island,
Yeah, something
more
like
than
that.
Delaware,
Yeah, Wyoming.
Wyoming, where there's only like 7
So
people.
do you think the libertarians will ever have a political party like that competes with Republicans and Democrats?
I don't know, but I don't like parties. So then it's kind of like if they ever do, I'd be not disappointed, but like for example, the current Libertarian Party, I do not like the current Libertarian
Because
Party.
when Ron Paul was running, I felt like it was picking up traction in the late 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's such a wild thing. This is why I praise Karine Jean-Pierre, the ex-Democrat who went independent, because it's that kind of mentality. She didn't do it the next day. She created some space.
Yeah.
She literally waited 5 months. She waited 5 months before she announced. But guess what? When she was lying and lying and lying and lying and saying that the president is doing just great, she knew that he wasn't.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, this is a threat to national security, and it's also a threat to national security if I tell everybody the truth. She was screwed.
Yeah.
What do? You can't tell the truth, you can't lie.
Step down.
You step down, or you keep on doing the job to make sure, she did the job the best way she could. Here's the point. A person like Karine Jean-Pierre, and since it's Pride Month, I don't want to misgender her, because who knows? But a person like her, I think, she had no integrity, and then one day she found integrity and went independent. And people can blast me for saying that, but I just kind of like her now. I mean, I always thought she was a little cutie patootie, but now I just kind of like her integrity. When you do that, I mean, she's writing a book and she's gonna get paid.
Maybe that's why she did it, for headlines.
Maybe she's doing it for the money.
It's just like what Comey put that stuff in the sand, and then a week later he announces he's coming out with a book.
Yeah, he wrote. What did he write? 8647.
Yeah, I think that was it. The first two acronyms were for like murder, or the first two numbers were for murder, and then 47 was for the president.
Yeah, so I gotta tell you, I'm gonna. This is what people are saying, and I understand that. I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. If he would have wrote 18747, that's a clear sign for murder. To be honest, 86 just means you either don't have it or you should get rid of it.
Okay.
I'm gonna push back. Being the good, independent libertarian I am, I'm gonna not jump on the bandwagon that says 86 means kill. I don't think that. I worked in lots of restaurants.
Removal, yeah. But
removal.
Regardless, whatever it was, he said he found it on the beach. He didn't find it on the beach.
Well, I mean, listen, I worked in restaurants. And 86, when you're 86 French fries, that means you don't have any more French fries. Or if you want to 86 the French fries, it just means that you want to like stop serving French fries. I don't think 8647 means kill the president. I think it means remove. That's just my independent thing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also saw a meme that said 69 AOC. So I don't know what the hell that means. I have no idea what that means. You be your own judge of character here. So, anyway, so we covered that good. That's something kind of a burning thing that I wanted to talk to you about today. What do you see in the future in Quincy this summer? Do you see, are we making any headway with Park District stuff, youth sports? Do you have any pet projects coming up? Or do you see anything happening on the positive for youth sports?
For the youth sports stuff, I hope they don't build a new facility because I don't think it'll work.
That's interesting.
And here's why I say that. Well, first of all, they've got a new facility in Springfield. Actually, I made notes about this.
Yeah, well, whip out your notes.
Because I thought we probably would talk about it. Okay, so Springfield is building a new facility, 8 multi-purpose fields. So that's like football, soccer, lacrosse, rugby. 1 indoor multi-purpose field. 12 basketball courts. Then you go over to Rantoul. They just built a facility that has 10 baseball fields, 8 multi-purpose fields. Mattoon just built a giant complex, 8 basketball courts, 22 multi-purpose fields, and 22 baseball fields. Then you look around the existing stuff that's been here. Burlington just built, the Fun City place just built a bunch of basketball courts up there. Jacksonville, someone bought the old McMurray College. They've turned that into a basketball facility. On the northwest side of Jacksonville, they've got 5 baseball fields out there. They've already been doing leagues. Iowa City, University of Iowa, they've got a facility up there with 5 basketball courts. And I know I've drove by them and I've seen huge soccer field developments. Columbia, Missouri's got a multi-purpose building that's got 3 basketball courts, and we were just down there 2 weeks ago, and they're putting a massive addition on to add a whole bunch more courts to it.
Is this all private or public?
It's a little, but each facility is a little different.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been to Bettendorf, Iowa. Most incredible facility I've ever seen. They've got
public or private?
I don't know.
Okay.
But they've got an indoor soccer field that they can convert to 2 baseball fields. They've got 8 basketball courts. They've probably got a dozen baseball fields and a whole bunch of soccer fields outside. So the issue I have is, and I've talked to, and this is what I would encourage anybody on that committee they're forming for the youth sports, call the people that run the leagues. So like I talked to the gentleman that runs United Hoops, and he's based out of, I think, Bloomington or Springfield. And he said, here's another one. So Macomb's talking about doing like an 8-court facility up there in Macomb. And he goes, Tanner, first of all, they can't lease them out. Like Mattoon's having trouble getting their space leased out because what they promised the developers they could rent these facilities for, the tournament directors they're balking at it. They won't pay that much. And so you've got all these facilities, and if you're going on a trip with your kids, and your options are, let's say, Fun City, where there's, you got Fun City in Burlington, and you've got the casino there, or say Springfield, which they've got a water park. There's things to do there, or Macomb. Of those 3 towns, which one would you want to go spend the overnight trip at?
That's a really good question.
So, I know if I pulled the parents in my, like one of my kids' teams, nobody would want to go to Macomb. There's nothing fun to do there. But these other towns have activity, so you're going to have to compete not just on that. But there's a whole bunch of reasons I don't think we should build a facility. Mainly, there's not enough tournaments to fill these things, and second, Quincy's behind on a lot of this. We don't have nearly as much to offer as Columbia, Missouri, or Springfield. Those are big ones. What I think the best option to do is, and if you go to the Oakley-Lindsay Center website, they've got an outline of the whole event space, like the dimensions. You can easily fit 4 basketball courts in there.
But, okay.
And you could do 8 volleyball courts. So why not buy the courts, put them in there, and test run it? If it works and it's so overwhelmingly great, then we can go build another building and add more courts to it. But test run with the 4, we've already got the structure. And if it doesn't work, we're not really out a whole lot.
So hold on. So at the OLC, you've got that big space, but those are if you turn them into basketball courts and volleyball courts, doesn't that take away the ability to do other stuff, or no?
No, they're removable courts.
Okay.
Portable.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter played in a volleyball tournament at the old Rams, where the Rams used to play in St. Louis. And the field where they played and the extension, like there's an extended building on the side, they had 90 volleyball courts in there. And they were all shipped in from like Texas. And they were legitimate courts, and when they got done, they just packaged them up and shipped them back.
So who would manage that stuff at the OLC? So when you say how does it work at the OLC? How do you actually do that? You're bringing in, when you say buy the basketball courts and the volleyball courts,
So
what does that mean?
say the OLC buys the courts, or Quincy, whoever they decide to buy, you would buy the courts and the hoops, and you go in there and you would set them up, and then if you ever had like another event, you could tear them down and store them.
Okay, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I've never put a court together, but
No, me neither,
it can't be. I mean, they just connect. Those courts do. They're just like, they're big squares, and they all just clip together.
Well, that would be good to actually do a test run, because if you're going to do something anywhere, like, a lot of people ask the Quincy Park District to do all of this.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Park District, if you talk to Rome or any of those guys over there, they'll say things like, "Yeah, Frank, that sounds great. Who's going to do this?" It's because otherwise you've got just all of these ideas but nothing to run with. Really,
Yeah.
that's what it boils down to. How many? How doable is it for the OLC to find somebody? Would this be a private thing, where somebody has to fork out the money?
I mean, I think that's when you form the committee, that's what I would have the committee work on is who pays for the courts, who's responsible for the courts. If it's OLC, I would assume that's who I would have purchase the courts, and you'd have your staff and put them together.
Okay, interesting. And then, can they make money? Can the OLC make money?
Well, yeah, I mean, you lease out the gym. So when, say, United Hoops or Hoops Midwest, they're the ones that come to Quincy and put on a tournament at QU. Those guys then would come here and they would lease the Oakley-Lindsay Center to use those courts.
Okay, but there is money.
But, I mean, there's different ways you could take part of the, you could maybe keep the concessions or take part of the entry fees.
And you're saying do this instead of
building a $30 million complex or whatever they've been talking about and then hitting the taxpayers with it. We've already got the building. Just put the courts in it.
That makes sense. That's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And that's a fraction, a teeny tiny fraction of what it would take.
And I mean, every hotel downtown would be filled. You could rotate basketball one weekend, volleyball the next weekend, and just flip-flop them every other weekend.
Wow, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Property taxes. I got my property tax bill in the mail. I guess I have some kind of amnesia as to why I don't study that thing more. But as I get older, isn't it wild? Like, as you get older, you pay more attention to stuff.
Details, yeah.
Details matter. the older you
Oh,
get.
I haven't opened mine yet.
You what?
I haven't opened my tax bill yet.
You haven't?
No.
Well, I bet they went up.
Oh, I
What do
guarantee
I want to make
it.
a bet it went up a little bit?
What, 10%? Isn't that what the state did?
I don't know. I don't know any of the percentages. I mean, I hear people say,
I pay attention to the details.
yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, so I stared at it, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, so like 60% of my property taxes go to the public schools. I actually felt kind of good about that, as opposed to like, what if it was like 10% and like 40 of it percent goes to whomever. So 60% is going to 59%, right? Going to the public schools. There's a certain amount going to John Wood, the community college,
Park District.
Park District, City of Quincy. I do, so at the risk of like angering my friends who are in city government, I noticed that there's a pretty decent chunk going to pensions. And so there's been a debate about pensions for a really long time. I've got friends who are cops. I've got friends who have been mayor of Quincy before. So I'm going to kind of tread lightly, but my tone is this. Why do we do it like that? Why don't we just have them all? I mean, because I'm not going to get a pension when I leave my job. I'm going to have a 401k, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm putting money into my 401k every week.
Yeah, why can't they have that?
And my company matches it.
Yeah.
I would much rather have all of our city people, everyone who's employed by the city, just have a 401k, and then I'm even okay with whatever they put in, the city matches it as part of a compensation program. Why is it not done like that? Why do taxpayers have to be on the hook forever, for as long as that person's alive? So, because I mean,
Does it cover their spouse too?
I have no idea.
Like if they pass away first, doesn't their spouse continue to receive it?
I mean, it's out of control.
It just doesn't make sense. And then if they graduate or if they retire from one job, they can get on at another government place and start building a second pension up.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
mean,
agree
that's
with
brilliant.
you.
Well, so, and I'm not trying to take aim at. Listen, you and I know.
I don't blame the firefighters and the police. I mean that's there when they take the job. They're smart to.
I'm not trying to take away their stuff.
It's not them.
What I'm trying to do is all of the new people.
Yeah.
I'm saying we should change the system going forward. I don't want to take all my friends that have those pensions. They have contracts.
Yeah.
I don't want to rip up those contracts. I don't want them to get robbed. I think the contracts should be honored. I'm just saying, like the state. How many of our dollars that we're paying here, state taxes, all of these things, how much of it's going towards pensions in the state? I don't know that answer right now. I just know that I'm paying for stuff. It's completely out of control. I don't understand how, and I don't know if it's teachers in the city of Chicago that were paying their pensions too. I don't really know how it works. I'm not a politician, but I don't think one has to be a politician in order to get some small grasp of this. But something's got to change with these pensions. So Chicago, do you remember when Detroit went bankrupt a number of years ago?
Yeah.
So was that during the 08, 09 financial crisis?
Yeah, I think it was.
The Great Recession. They're kind of billing it. And I remember reading about Detroit going bankrupt, and they had like some ungodly amount of unfunded future net liabilities, like future obligations. It was like billions and billions of dollars. Chicago today is triple that number. Chicago, I feel pretty confident about this number, but I think Chicago has about 40 billion just of future unfunded net liabilities.
Wow.
40B.
So are we gonna? I guess we're on the hook for that.
We're on
too,
the hook
then,
for it.
aren't we?
Everybody in the state. So it's not. Well, let me back up. I don't know if everybody in the state is, but I know that the state bails out Chicago a lot. I think the state caters to Chicago, but I do think there are a lot of. I think just the city of Chicago itself being run the way it is, I'll make this claim that at least the people in the city are paying a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that the state is not always working the way it should financially either. Is there ever going to be a time? Is there ever going to be a time where something is going to get fixed? Because when I look at the dollar, and by the way, I think the answer is no. I think we have to have catastrophic failure someday, and I'm hoping it's way on down the line, because I remember when COVID came around, and I thought to myself, wow, they were always talking about the superbug that's going to wipe out a percentage of humans, and it's here, it's happening. I can't believe this. Well, that's what I thought at first, honestly. Remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember March of 2020?
Oh,
Do you remember when the news came out that people are just dropping dead?
oh yeah.
Was there a part of you that was freaked out?
So we were visiting my in-laws in Florida, and instead of flying home, we rented a car and drove all the way back to Quincy. I remember we drove, it was like 22 hours straight, and if I pumped gas, my wife would have a wet wipe ready, so as soon as I put that handle away, I could wipe the germs off. But yeah, everyone was terrified.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was. They didn't know that it was a respiratory infection.
Yeah.
They thought it was like it was on your cream of wheat when you're getting like curbside assistance. You know, you go to the grocery store and you gotta wipe down the macaroni because it could kill you.
Yeah.
And then Tanner, once they found out that none of that was necessary and it was a respiratory infection, they said, all you gotta do is wear this thing and then you'll be okay, and then it'll help. What a crazy time. But I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen with the dollar. I think what's going to happen is I think there'll be. I'm one of those guys that really cares about the dollar. This big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Back to that, does not help the dollar. It destroys it. And every single day that you can see it, if there's any chance of it passing, you see the dollar start just sinking. You see the euro and the yen and the pound get very strong. But do you have any opinion about the dollar and what America is doing to weaken it? Do you have a general, what's your general feeling about how American government treats the dollar?
Well, I mean, the debt's never an issue for politicians. The tough choices, you lose votes with tough choices, so I just don't ever see it changing. Only way I could see it changing, though, is who was the last, Reagan the last one to have a surplus?
No, Clinton.
It was Clinton?
Clinton went across the aisle with Newt Gingrich and balanced the budget and gave us a surplus. I'm pretty sure Clinton was the last one.
Wow.
Bill Clinton, all the dirty and fun stuff he was doing in the Oval, he was still able to balance a budget with a Republican. I think Reagan was it. I don't get the impression at all that Reagan was a fiscal conservative. I know he touted himself as a fiscal conservative, but as a matter of fact, I can't name one Republican president that has ever really done anything good with the deficit or the debt, generally speaking. I can't think of one Republican. As a matter of fact, I'm tempted to ask that robot Siri, that psycho in my phone, if she knows the real deal. But I bet if I'm like, what U.S. Republican president balanced the budget, decreased debt? I don't even think that's a thing, which is why I stay to the right, which is why I'm in the camp of Thomas Massey and the Rand Pauls and all of those truly fiscal conservative Republicans. Those are the guys I want to have at my dinner table. All these everybody else is out of their minds. Did you see Elon Musk's tweet the other day? Was it yesterday?
Furious. I mean, I don't blame you. You do all that work, and then you turn around and pass this kind of budget with so much waste. And
what do you think? Elon Musk goes in there, and he was being dead serious about cutting waste and fraud, being dead serious. And there's a lot of people that think, oh no, he wasn't. He's a con man. He's a billionaire. He doesn't care. He's just trying to get paid. Elon Musk was getting his ass kicked financially the entire time he was doing all of that work. He was losing money, which, by the way, I think after Trump's first term in office, I think his wealth went down too. I think, like, you see all of these other presidents whose wealth, their net worths shoot up, and Trump first 4 years in office goes down. I mean, I think Trump will be okay. But Elon goes in there. I believe Elon.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, I do not think.
There's no reason for him to lie. There's no advantage to it.
Well, this is my worry. He's blatantly going against Trump now. Now, I mean, he's not trying to go against Trump.
Well, it's not necessarily all Trump, though, because that bill it's not just Trump stuff. There's other politicians add things to it.
It's literally everybody in Congress. It's literally every single person in Congress. That's who you look to first, because it should never get to the president's desk. And as it goes through all of its reconciliation, all of these things, the fact that Elon Musk is willing to go out there and say, all of you people who are voting for this bill, you are doing wrong and you know it. You know what you're doing is wrong and you don't care. Trump reads that, and Trump's the kind of guy to like think to himself, okay, Elon's dead to me. I'm gonna pull up the Secret Service. If someone takes a shot at Elon, so be it. When you go against Trump, Elon is either sending a message to Trump saying, Mr. President, please don't sign that bill, or he's insinuating that Trump is complicit. I think Trump's for the bill. Don't you?
Oh, absolutely. He's promoting. I mean, he's out there pushing it every day.
He's pushing it.
But there's a lot of good things in there, I think.
Like what?
Well, like there's things with energy. I mean, bring energy costs down. There's a lot of areas. The whole thing's not bad, but there's just the waste is the problem. I think that's where Elon is saying, guys, if we're trying to cut all this waste, why are we adding more to the government?
Here's what I think. I think it's an apple pie. And 3/4 of the apple pie, so we've got an apple pie sitting in front of us. 3/4 of it that's just crawling with worms. But there's a section in the pie that looks really, really good, and I'm going to offer you a piece. And I hope you don't mind the rest of how the pie looks. The bill is like thousands of pages long. And you've got like gals like MTG, that psycho.
I love her.
Oh yeah, she's great. She's a psycho, but she's great. You know what she said? She threw out a tweet that said something like, I'm so disappointed. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't know that on pages 298 or whatever, there's something in the bill that does this and this and this and this. This is terrible. I can't believe this is in here. There are people coming out of the woodwork. They need to completely change this bill so it takes away debt. Not even like a deficit neutral, debt neutral situation. They have to like literally find a way to cut at least $1 trillion out of this thing. But instead, they're adding, like, I don't even know how much. They're adding trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions. And my answer to that is, you guys are insane. You are like talking about being unfit for office. Every single person who voted for that they're not going to get voted out of office.
No.
Are they? Nobody. This is just proof. This is proof that we're in deep crap. Because even the populists, the R's and the D's, everybody, Trump, I don't think Trump ran on this idea that he's going to fix the deficit of the debt, did he? Did he run on something to say that? I don't ever remember thinking.
Well, he ran on Doge.
He wrote on Doge, sure.
But that's all about waste and abuse.
Yeah, but I don't think he ran on like reducing debt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really.
See, he's real clever because, I
didn't follow this election. I followed like the Biden debacle. That was a mess. But in terms of policy, it was. There wasn't a whole lot.
You
weren't swinging a person's vote one way or the other on this election.
It was all about like, are you woke or are you not woke? It was like people were not even caring about the strength of the dollar. But the strength of the dollar, you know who really, really, really cares about the strength of the dollar, or who should care, is the poor and the middle class. I understand how the rich.
There's not much of a middle class anymore.
Well, listen, I am hanging on by a thread in the middle class. I used to be middle class. I am lower middle class now. I'll tell you right now. I'm getting my ass absolutely handed to me. I put my kids' St. Peter's tuition on a credit card this year. I'm being dead serious.
So what do you think happened to the middle class? Because I have ideas.
Well, for starters, the number one thing is the disintegration of the family. That's the number one thing. You can add all of these inflationary like rhetorics to it. You can say something like, okay, quantitative easing is destroying it. The printing of the dollar, corruption, things like that. But I truly think that the disintegration of the family is the number one thing. And then I think as it becomes very in vogue to create an economy that forces a two-person income, I think that also disintegrates the family.
Yeah.
But
you also see the loss of businesses. Like, well, there's something, I swear I saw somewhere like Quincy used to have like 200 grocery stores or like little corner markets. We used to have a dozen or 24 pharmacies. There's lumber yards everywhere. Well, all those have, over time, those were the middle class. And over time, they've all been consolidated to 1 or 2 lumber yards. There's only 2 grocery stores. And so you've now got the super wealthy, and what was the middle class is now falling off.
see, I mean, the poor in the middle class shop at Aldi, and the rich shop at Hy-Vee.
I love Aldi, though. You can find some good stuff at Aldi.
Aldi's amazing. I'll tell you right now, if I go to Aldi, my bill's gonna be $65. If
Yeah.
I go to Hy-Vee, it's gonna be $135. I buy the same stuff, except Aldi is just probably, I mean, listen, I love the people at Hy-Vee. I strangely don't shop at County Market enough, and now it's Neiman's. I like all the Neiman's. I like Neiman's family. I like all those people. But I shop at Aldi mostly. I would like, to your point, I want to see more smaller Aldi-style places pop up in Quincy.
Trader Joe's, love those kind of places.
Trader Joe's. I've been trying to get a Trader Joe's downtown Quincy for 10 years.
We need a like an Asian market or a Mexican grocery store. We don't have anything like that in Quincy.
Oh, yeah, we do.
There's a great one over in Springfield. I always try to hit it when I'm over there.
Somebody needs to rent a place downtown Quincy. Ooh, 125 North 6th Street. Do you know where that is? Right around the corner? Yeah. Chris and Patton owns that. Owns 125. Oh, Kristen and her sisters and whatever, and her husband. Somebody needs to do a Global Eats, real cool grocery store on 6th Street. 125 North 6th. It's available. Rent's $1,500 or something. $2,000. That's cheap. Because if you do it on Broadway, it's gonna be like, you know what the rents
but you get a
are.
lot more traffic. Parking's easy.
Yeah,
I'm a Broadway guy. You're downtown. I'm Broadway.
You're a Broadway guy. You're an East Corridor guy.
That's right.
I know, but listen, we can still make it work.
Yeah.
We still can make it work. I mean, yeah, the poor and the middle class invest downtown Quincy. The rich invest in the East Corridor. I'm just making a joke, but no, we've got so many friggin' problems. I do have one more question for you.
Okay.
What's up with Christians in Quincy not wanting to send their kids to these Christian private schools? And you know I'm going with this because I've talked to you about this, maybe that kind of in passing. There was this one time where I saw you at Crazy Cakes. It was last summer, I think. Last summer or last fall. Your family was out there. Alicia was out there. You have a wonderful family. I'm sitting there talking to you guys, and I was very busy and I had to run. And I started to get into the conversation with you about why Christians, like really good people, that they'll go to the Crossing, they'll go to Madison Park, they'll go to all the different places, they'll go to the Anglican church here in town, right around the corner, which is a great church, by the way. All those churches I mentioned are great. I mean, if people are going to a church because they're trying to honor God, they're trying to be a good person, then you know what that means? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. And all the different sects of Christianity and all the different world religions, Judaism, good religion, Islam, good religion. I got nothing against any of the religions. I've got problems when we itemize the worst parts of those religions. I got problems with those things. But my question is this. I send my kids to a Christian private school. I already told you that I put their tuition on a credit card.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, and I'm not bragging. And I'm not embarrassed either. It's because I roll hard.
Yeah.
You know, like I I literally told Rachel like a month or two ago, I go, you know what? We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this.
So why do you send them there?
Because they get the toolbox. They get the full toolbox, full on. They sit, those people at those private Christian schools, you know what they do? They do things like, they'll force a kid to sit in like a big, like a church atmosphere, make them sing, make them kneel, make them like communicate with the higher power. They make them do all of these radical
Do they allow
things.
them to have phone access?
No.
See, that's the one thing I can't believe is
There's none of that.
How on earth do these kids, are they allowed, like junior high just recently, I think this year maybe, they wouldn't let the kids have cell phones anymore. But in high school, all those kids are on their phone all day. I don't understand how they're allowed to have phones in school.
So at Q&D, I think the rule is, well, I guess I don't know what the rule is today because I don't read all my emails, okay? And I don't, those people at Q&D and like the principal, Mark McDowell, who's an awesome guy, Kurt Stuckman at Q&D, these guys are constantly working as hard as they can to make sure it's the right decision for the kid, which means discipline, which means no cell phone. So hopefully those are the rules that they're going by. It's ranged between sometimes you have to put your phone on vibrate and keep it in your locker. Sometimes you just keep your cell phone in your car. Sometimes it's, okay, you can bring your cell phone with you to class, but put it on vibrate and put it in your pocket, and I don't want to see it. Some will say, there's been different times in recent history where it's like, okay, here's what I'll do. I will lecture for 15 minutes, and then I will stop when the big hand gets on the 5. And I'll stop. I want you to all pull out your phones and take a look at it. And if you've got a text or whatever, go ahead and answer it. I'll give you a minute or 2 minutes. Take a break.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
That's reasonable because what's happening is, that if their cell phone is in their pants pocket and it's vibrating, it's bugging the crap out of them. They want it. They're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I need the dopamine hit, right? What's the correct? If you were the principal of QHS or Q&D, what rule would you make for cell phones?
Well, first of all, I don't know are there laws that I feel like there's something about the kids have to have access to their phones. From like something with a school shooting or something once, kids were denied their phones.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I could be off on
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
But I don't think they should have them. They shouldn't have phones in the classroom.
Can I tell you why that's dumb? If there is a school shooting situation and every single one of those kids are crowding under their desks, all calling 911 at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay?
But then maybe they don't get notified. I'm just saying, if it was me though, they shouldn't have them in the classroom. Keep them in your locker. Bottom line.
Well, okay, it's kind of like this. Why doesn't Q&D have metal detectors? Why not? Why does Q&D not have metal detectors, but QHS does?
I mean, it's a precaution.
Why would Q&D, a precaution, why does Q&D not care about their children? I'm making a joke. They don't have metal detectors. No, they care. And they arguably, I'm going to be careful what I say. I was going to make the joke, arguably they care more, yet they don't have metal detectors. Have you ever heard my explanation of why I would choose a private Christian school over a government school? There's this idea. This has got me into trouble before, and but I'll double down on it. In a public school, you have vast swaths of people, parents, that care about their kids' education, like tons. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know lots of
tons. So many people. But in the private Catholic schools, the private Christian schools, it's a way higher percentage. It's a way higher percentage. So if you want to give your kids the toolbox, what you're doing is you're throwing them into a group of people where you got much higher chances of the higher percentages of people that are more vested. They're more. That's all. That's all it is. It's not taking anything away from the public schools. It's just kind of things like, if senior high's graduation rate, I don't know what their graduation rate is, but Q&E's is 100. So, and I'm not even like, listen, I like the Blue Devils, okay?
Yeah.
The Blue Devils basketball intro, the boys basketball intro blows away Q&D's intro. You know what I mean?
100%.
QHS's musical program. Please, Q&D
had a
people,
lot of- I
do
remember
not send me hate mail.
When I was in high
about this.
school, we had lots of Notre Dame kids come over to Quincy High because they didn't have a music program.
Dude, I forgot how great the Blue Devils intro was until Saeed Ali invited me a couple of years ago to go see a home game. I wasn't thinking
That's
about
the whole
it.
reason we go to that school, for the Blue Devil basketball.
That's the only reason to go to that school. It's because of music, theater, and the basketball intro and the metal detectors. That's always nice.
I know football's pretty good lately.
Football is amazing. The Blue Devil football team, man. I think that QHS has really come alive recently with their sports.
Sports has been outstanding. This past class,
You guys are killing it.
you had, one of the probably top 3 basketball teams in the history of Blue Devil basketball. Our football team, hands down the best football team Quincy's ever had. And it's all that 2025 class. The amount of athletes is just unbelievable.
Is it the class? Is it the athletes?
Yeah, you got Brad Longcore, you got Dom Clay, Keyshawn on basketball.
Jeez.
Football, you got Tykel Hammers, Coach Little's son. There's so many kids going to college.
Anybody that follows you on Twitter, that's how you get the Blue Devil basketball education, is by following you on Twitter.
Yeah.
You have really good insight. So by the way, for some reason, my Twitter, I know people call it X, but Sears Tower.
Formerly Twitter.
It's Twitter to me. But you're very good at, so if I was to pull up my phone right now and go on Twitter, you're gonna be right there. You're gonna, I can't see the things that you like, but I can see when you repost things and you respond, and that's how I learned about Blue Devil basketball.
Yeah.
Is following you on Twitter. Yeah, I'm being dead serious. But hey, when are you coming on again?
See, we'll have to work it out.
Once a year.
Maybe once a year, that works for me.
Once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be an annual.
I'll bring you a 40.
I can't wait. No malt liquor.
I'll make a note.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Tanner Freiburg, everybody.
Take care.